Am I living? Oh, what a funny thing to say. But your mama always said, look up into the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day, on a cloudy day. Your mama always said, look up into the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day, on a cloudy day. Your mama always said, look up into the sky.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vince. How are you?
I'm good. Snap Jinx.
Oh, padlock, throw the key away.
Oh, I've never heard that one. Padlock, throw the key away.
Yeah, it's what is it? Jinx, padlock, throw the key away. What are they? Snap, jinx, padlock, throw the key away.
Jinx is the one where you can't talk until somebody
Yeah.
says your name 3 times or
Yeah.
you get punched, right?
Yeah, but if you padlock, throw the key away is like next level. I learned that one this year.
Oh, okay. Good morning, guys. Welcome to a new episode of Livin'.
We're not throwing any padlock. We are unlocking it. Unlocking it.
Yeah,
We're saying it all.
There's no gatekeeping here. Gates are open, doors are open, windows are open. Come in. Come in. You're here with Vince Fusco.
And Nancy Timpano, as you said, for another episode of Livin'. But can I just say, I don't know what we're up to now when this one goes to air, but
knows?
I don't think we made a big celebration about our 50th episode.
Oh, my God. No, we didn't.
We didn't. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe from memory our 50th episode was actually the partnerships episode. I believe.
That's such a great question. You
Yeah.
feel like I would be all over this, right?
Yeah,
and I should
actually
be.
thought
Let's
about
be
that
totally
last
upfront.
night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we didn't do a big hoo-ha.
50 episodes.
So we're doing that for ourselves now. That was 50, and I think that was partnerships with the Style hosts.
Isn't that crazy?
Marie
It was
Karjotis
Working
and
Partnerships, episode 50.
and Rebecca Morse and Jared Walsh and Rosie Panetta.
All of our wonderful friends.
You were our half century.
Wow.
How good is that?
Half century sounds good.
Yeah.
We're going for the full century here.
Yeah, oh,
going
absolutely.
for a millennium.
And we have well and truly gone over our first year. We've had our birthday celebration.
I'm still recovering, to be honest.
I know.
I'm
it was
still
so
actually
amazing.
recovering.
But yeah, we
because
should have done a big shout out.
so many wonderful people who came and celebrated with us
Oh.
and celebrated us and the show and the sponsors who came on board. Like, it just has been such, like I said, I'm still recovering.
Yeah, I know. And I think you made a really good point in one of the, when we're having a chat off the episode. You were saying something about how 95% of podcasters don't get past 5 episodes.
Yeah, that
that
statistic
what
is correct. I don't know if it's 95, but it's something like that. Very close. Like 85 to 90% of podcasts that are created don't actually make it past 5 episodes.
Wow.
And that does my head in, because when you think about the volume of podcasts that are available, and there's a podcast for everything now.
Yeah, I know. True.
To think that of all the ones that we never get to see, or the ones that get up there and they get to episode 4 or 5 and then just die off,
Yep.
like that is truly a staggering statistic.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it makes me so proud of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And it also leads us into today's topic, because
Oh,
when
yes.
you've been
Okay, yes.
at me to do this, I'm kind of at, at some point I almost thought, am I too old for this?
You're crazy.
But, initially. So when I was ready, I was just ready, and
You
here
were
we are.
Ball at the gate.
Yeah, that's right. But it leads us into today's topic. Is age just a number?
Absolutely it is.
It is, isn't it?
Age just a number?
Yeah.
What is age?
I know. I don't know. And I think age should be, renamed with the feeling or something. Like, what do you might be X amount of years old, but how do you feel? Like,
Yeah, totally.
how old do you actually feel?
I feel probably 16,
Yep. Okay. Yep.
if I'm being totally honest. Like,
Yeah.
and I say that.
But even as a dad, like
okay.
I'm being like,
Yeah, okay. Well, if that's the case, I feel 37.
no, I'm just saying, like,
I would not, oh my God, I can't imagine being a dad at 16. But I guess
no,
like
I'm not saying
mentally,
a dad at 16.
No, I understand. But I think it's more just like the idea of like,
Spelling it out.
well, what do I feel like? I feel like I still feel 16. There are definitely days where my body feels like a little bit
Yeah.
more tired. But then I'm
Yeah.
also like, well, look at what your body's done for you
Yeah.
in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Like my performing career, the touring that I did for nearly 10
Yeah.
years on tour.
Yeah.
Like when I think of all of that high performance
Yeah.
output, I go, yeah, it makes sense. There's a bit of wear and tear on this this rig.
Yeah.
But mentally, I think I still feel 16. Like my body feels 16. I feel like I live like I'm 16 some
Yeah.
days. I love like I'm 16.
Yep.
And maybe it's just that youthful naivete. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If
What do
it's
you
in
feel?
there. I feel like, look, I don't know. I feel I could just in feeling, people, stand back, zoom out. I feel like I feel like 30, or even 28, 30
Yeah.
in terms of just the way I feel.
You look about 25.
No, but what I'm saying is that's probably how I feel. But then when I hurt, I hurt like I'm 13. And sometimes I have to remind
Emotionally
myself.
hurt or physically hurt? Because when I hurt physically, sometimes I
Emotionally.
physically hurt like I'm 85.
No. When I emotionally hurt, I go, wow, I feel like I'm still that kid.
Yeah, I get that.
I do. And I'm like, wow, why am I still hurting like this
But
over
that-
something?
And that's kind of, I guess, what I mean when I say
Pain,
like
yeah.
16 and I say that naivete, that
Yeah,
youthful naivety
yeah.
about it. Because it's funny, we're watching the OC at the moment, Joy
Mm-hmm.
and I, we're going back for a bit of a rewatch. And I remember watching that at 15, 16 years old
Yeah.
and being so caught up in the teen drama, but also like that period of my life, like high school is your deep friendships
Yeah.
really forming. You're going from that adolescent to adulthood with your peer group, with your friends. You
Yeah.
might have your first love.
Yeah.
And life seems so much bigger. And then I guess you wind the clock forward 20, 25 years.
Yep.
And not to say that life's not as big, but it happens so quickly
Yep.
that you really realise that maybe you hurt or you love and you feel those things a bit differently because of the experience that you've had across
Yep.
that 20 years. There is something lovely about that first time, I don't know, like 13, like you said, or hurting like that or feeling like that.
Yeah.
At what point do you feel like it changed or it just never has?
Well, it definitely changes because you become older, wiser, whatever. But
Hardened.
then something might trigger you that you just feel that hurt. Like I feel like I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little kid.
I got an email from a school the other day
Mm.
that was just so formally written that I felt like I was in trouble.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And that made me have
Yep.
flashbacks to my childhood.
And I know this sound okay, and I don't mean to bring this conversation down because this wasn't what I'd
go.
planned. But I think sometimes, that, I lost my dad at 13. And I know it's been, 30 odd years more, well and truly more. And I feel like when I think about dad and reminisce, I feel like maybe even some people might roll their eyes and go like, oh, get over it.
Oh, no.
No. I don't. They might not be thinking that, but when I think about it as a 13-year-old.
Which makes total sense
So
because
in
that's when you
my
experienced that.
Brain, even when I think now, I've got my mum that's coming on to 81, and I think God forbid when mum is not around
Yeah.
anymore, I feel like I'm not ready to have no parents.
To be an orphan.
Like I'm not ready to have it's
You can be an orphan
weird.
like that. And that's the kind of, it's funny. We watched Casper yesterday, that great film from 1995.
Yeah.
Again, and it was funny, watching that made me feel like I was 13 and being
Yeah.
like, oh my, not even 13. I was
Yeah.
like 9 when that came out.
Yeah.
But watching it and the idea of Leo started asking questions about where's the girl's mum who passed away. And it made me think, and I was like, I thought about you, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then another person that is in a circle of our friendship group, her husband sadly passed away recently, but it's her second husband. Her first husband passed when she was pregnant with their children years ago.
Oh, see, I don't.
And that idea of, I guess, growing up, that pain will never leave, or that thought of you saying, or thinking of your dad and feeling, who is rolling their eyes at that and going, "Oh, get over
I'm
it,"
not
or
saying, but
not even get
sometimes
over
I think
it.
I feel bad because someone might have passed away last year that's very close to someone. But when I feel that for them,
But that doesn't
as
take
if
away from
it
your
just-
grief or their grief or their experience.
Yeah, no, so in terms of age is a number because I can fluctuate every day how old I am.
You can what?
And fluctuate.
Fluctuate.
Oh, what did you think?
I don't know, but this is, I don't know.
Fluctuate.
Yeah, good. Okay, that makes
Yes.
way more sense.
And like you say, some days after yoga, I feel like I'm 90. Even I'm doing it to keep young, but sometimes it's not like it used to be.
Bit of maintenance. we
Yeah,
call
bit of
that.
maintenance. But also the other end of that is now that, I'm amongst women that have had their kids and they did whatever they did pre-children.
Yeah.
I've heard it so many times and you see it on the TV and when, they interview famous people and whatever that a lot of, it's not just women, but a lot of women, I hear the stories, is they lose themselves for a few years when they're home being
Yes.
a mum.
Totally.
And then after the kids go back to school, they want to go back doing
What they were before.
what they were doing and being that person. So clearly to them, doesn't matter how many years have passed, they're still feeling like they did pre-children.
It's kind of like that. it's like the pause button gets hit.
Yes.
You go off and do the, child rearing and
Yes.
mothering and whatever.
Yes.
And then it's like when that period is done, let's hit play again.
yeah.
But then you don't sometimes realise that there's been 7 years past.
Correct.
And that can be
Correct.
in and of itself quite confronting. Like
Yeah.
I definitely have heard that around women
Yeah.
specifically,
Yes.
which makes total sense because, you've gone through a whole change physically, mentally, hormonally. There's so many things
And
happening.
you just feel like you lose yourself. Pre-kids, you're going off to work, you've got,
Yeah.
that's your focus. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, your 100% focus is your child.
yeah.
Yeah, and we tend to lose ourselves. And I remember when I came back to doing a bit more of this stuff, which I've always done, even though I've never stopped completely, whether it's
Totally,
just
yeah.
1 or 2 gigs a year, I feel like, I've come back to myself.
Yeah, that coming home feeling.
yeah.
And I think that happens for a lot of people, like both men and women. I think for men it happens differently.
Yeah.
I think that's why you see some like men having that sort of midlife crisis where they sort of go, I feel like I've done nothing, or
Yeah.
they haven't been able to express their emotions or how they're
Yeah.
truly feeling. And then they have that sort of moment where they're like, I'm taking up the gym. It's like, but you're 55. Not that that's an issue.
No.
That's great.
Yeah.
Or like I'm going to go buy a sports car. And like,
Yeah.
oh, well, look, he's just carrying on like a teenager now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's trying to.
That's what he thinks.
He's trying to think that way. He's trying to hold
Yeah.
on to that feeling.
Correct, hold on
and,
to
and
it.
it's you can have that feeling at any age.
Yes.
It just depends on, I think, your awareness of yourself.
Yep.
What's fulfilling you? What's
Yep.
filling your cup?
Yep.
What kind of relationships you have around you?
Yep.
Because I know that, and it's funny, my group of friends, I think I've spoken about this a bit on the show. A lot of my group of friends are from kindergarten.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
and that's quite rare, I
Yeah.
hear. It just seems normal to me, though. Like
Yep.
we've grown up all the way together, and now when we look at each other, we sit down at dinner and there's an extra 10 people sitting at the table next to us because it's all of our children.
yeah.
And we're like, when did that happen?
I know,
But we
I
were
know.
just in high school
Yeah.
getting in trouble for driving on Macca's trays around the car park, and now we've got people that we're responsible for.
I know.
When did that happen? But mentally, I think we're all still like, I definitely don't recognise myself at 37 mentally. I don't feel like I'm.
You know, when you go around the circle sometimes, not that if it happens to come up, they go, oh, how old are you? You meet new people. And
Yeah.
they go, oh, well, how old are you? Or how old are you? I don't get offended at all when people guess my right age. It's not like I'm
Never.
wanting people to guess me to be younger. But I think of it sometimes when, if people guess the right age, haven't always had it older, thank God, so far, knock on wood. But when they guess the right age, I'm not offended in the visuals at all. But sometimes I go, oh, I don't feel that old.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
you are what you are. You
I
look
get
the way you
shocked when
look.
people guess my age correctly because I know that I don't look it.
Yeah, I don't feel it at
Yeah.
all. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when this episode will come out, but we had an episode. We had our school sports day yesterday,
Oh, yes.
and it killed my life, the last race.
Why?
And I was very vocal about it. Probably too vocal, so I'm very apologetic to the parents that were standing around me. But it killed my life.
Why?
Because up until reception to year 2, Jaden would finish a bit earlier than the rest of the school, but now he's a big year 3. He's there all
kids.
day. So I didn't know that at the end of the day they do this relay. So I'm just thinking, oh, beautiful, relay. Every class does a relay in their age order, but no. So it's this massive relay that all the year 3s are in like a star shape, like a cross like this. If you're watching on Spotify, you can see
Yep,
my
she's
arms
crossing
crossing.
her arms, yep.
So every, like the year 3s are like that, year 4s like that, yeah. So what they do is, before it started, I was like, parents, please help. My brain's confused, doesn't take much.
Yeah.
How is this a relay? And that hasn't started
They're
yet. They
going
go,
around.
yeah. So then they pass the button. Sorry, I just spat. they pass the button. Sorry. They pass the button from the top to the cross section. The centre, yes. And then that last person has to... No, sorry, the top end starts here. This is why it's confusing. I'm already confusing. So the first person on the outer starts running.
Wedge.
Yeah,
Yep,
wedge.
Yep.
They run around and then they run to the centre, to the end of it.
Yep.
Then they start passing the baton until it gets to the
And
the
And then
top
they
end.
run around
and
and
then
they
they
do the
run
same
around.
thing. Okay,
so at
gotcha.
first I'm like, but see, it took me a while. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, very different relay in my head than what I envisaged. So the kids were doing this very structured, what they had been taught, like this, like up the button, like and pass it down. And I'm like, hurry up. Like, oh my God, it's killing my life. Anyway, There was one kid that actually it happened to someone else prior to this, but then by the time it happened the second time, and they happened to be in my son's colour team, so I'm like, you need to hurry up, right? So she's running, and meanwhile this relay is taking 20 minutes
You were
because
dying by this
I was
point.
dying. So anyway, this child is running, and then she's gone to run around, and she's run off, like past the crowd.
So yeah.
And I'm like, where's she going? This race is going for long enough. So I've run in. Yes. Yes, I have. I haven't even told you this. I run in. I'm like, no, this way. And I'm directing traffic.
God, I love
and then
it.
I'm shuffling her and I'm shuffling. No, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm like, I was on a mission to get her back to home base, right?
Are you the only parent doing this?
Absolute
I
only
love it
parent.
even more.
So I've just finished and I'm like, oh, we're back on track. Like, let this race continue and let's get it finished. And the parents are going, oh my God, Nancy, you are a classic. And I'm like, well, she was clearly lost
And I need my team to
and
win.
no one was helping her.
Yeah.
I had to, I couldn't.
Bless you.
Could you watch that though?
No, I would do the same thing. I'm that dad.
Thank you. So, and I think that, and I said to Jaden after, did you see what Mum did? I said, well, I asked him, and I said, were you laughing? He goes, oh, I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I said, I'm just doing that
For him,
hurt.
for
Yeah,
him,
for
for
him.
him.
Yeah, no, that's not my mum. That's not my mum. But in that moment, I felt like I was one of the school kids.
I love it.
In the race,
Yep.
trying to get everyone back on track and team and let's go.
You're naturally like that. You're such a natural helper and a natural giver. Like it makes total sense. You'll be like, I've got to help her. I'm going to bring her back.
Yeah.
I love that.
And anyway, so I joined in the race. So at that point, I felt like I was 8.
8.
Yeah, and
Do
it
you have
felt
a favourite age?
great. I remember leading up to my 30th birthday, the 6 months prior, I was like not happy about it. I was really
Really?
in a space. I'm like, I just can't believe I'm there. I'm coming to this age and whatever. And everyone, well, a lot of people in my close circle would say to me, Nancy, it is the best.
100%.
It is the best. And I'll be like, whatever. So then when I hit 30,
Yep.
about a month into it, I had the best 6 months of my life, I think.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, this is what people are thinking of, like, were telling me about. And it's not that anything specific happened in that 6 months, but I felt like I came into me.
Yes. And that's probably going back to like that idea of the confidence that comes
Yeah.
with the age, with the experience. And I feel like our whole life we've heard societally, 30's the new 20.
Yeah.
30's the 40's the new 30,
Yeah,
50's the new 40,
yeah.
60's the new 50, and I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
100% agree as well.
do you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like,
Yeah.
and we also look very different, and
Yeah.
our lifestyles are so different from generations prior.
Yeah.
So you can also see, like, you know, you watch old TV shows, or even like I think of Father of the Bride with Steve Martin and Diane Keaton. Those two characters are supposed to be like 36, 37 years old,
Yeah.
but they look like they're 60.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? But they're actually only like
They
like
are.
40-year-old characters. You know, George Costanza, I think, is like 36, but he
Yeah.
looks 43.
Yeah.
And I say that with love because I think, you know, there's things that make us look differently
Yeah.
or look tired or look, and there are days where I look 42, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm not 42, which again, you know, it's just a number, but it's the idea of, I think, like the way that we feel at an age and feeling like coming into 30, I agree with you 100%. I felt like I had this new level of like,
Yeah.
this is it, this is me, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But I think I really changed my approach on getting older after some very, very wise words from a friend of ours,
Okay.
Hassan, from the Zim Boys.
Yes.
One of our dear
Hollywood.
friends. Hollywood.
With
Hi,
that
Hollywood.
Hollywood smile.
But we've spent so much time with the boys.
Yeah.
And I spent a bit more time with them in the later years of our time at the Royal Show, where we would, like, they'd come to my home
Yes.
and we'd have dinners and we'd hang out and just a lot of time getting to know them and their families.
Yep.
It was beautiful. And I remember one year, Vusa said to me, he's like, Finn, you always look so young and fresh and you always look so ready, like full of energy. And I was like, that day I don't think I felt it. And I said, I don't know, man. I said, a little bit bigger in the waist, a little bit more grey hair. And Hassan said to me, he's like, Vinny, don't ever colour your hair. And I said, no, I never have. I never have, Hassan. What made you say that? I said, like, I haven't coloured it in high school, to be fair. I coloured it blue in my rebellious phase. It's just a phase, mum. And Hassan was like, don't colour your hair because grey hairs are a blessing. It's a sign of life.
Yes.
It means you're living. So whilst people are like, oh, no, I'm stressed, it's going to make me grey, or if you pull one out, 5 are going to come to the funeral. Like, I love it. I welcome it. And I will say this, that as I've gotten older and I've gotten more grey hair in both my head and other places where I'm like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yes.
It's such a blessing because I just think that every day that we are here.
100%. And then after I turned 30, then you come to hear that, you know, people around you that you know of a very, very young age have passed on.
Getting sick or passing on.
And passing on. And then it just, the switch flicked. And it's like
1,000%.
appreciation every single day.
There's always room for gratitude, guys.
Yeah.
Always. And it's funny, like even now, like my parents are a little bit older. Like dad is 74 and mum is 71, 72. And, you know, I can see it in them, probably more so in dad. Like dad's now the last of his siblings that has survived.
Wow.
And I remember even, you know, I talked about mum having stomach cancer you know, close to 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Had we have lost her, how different our lives would have looked and how young she was.
Yes.
We would have been like, oh, she was only 40 years old.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? That's too young. And now we hear of their friends passing where I'll say to dad, like, oh, how old is he? And dad will be like 68. And I'm like, it's too young.
Yeah.
68 is too young. 70 is too young. 80 is too young.
It is.
Like, and maybe I have a warped idea of age, possibly because I feel like we have great genes in our family.
Okay.
So like dad's dad passed at 96, dad's mum was 92, mum's dad was I think 91.
That's
and he was a
awesome.
heavy smoker and drinker after the
Yeah,
war,
yeah,
mum's
yeah,
dad.
yeah.
But mum's mum, who I wrote the book about, Nonna lives here,
Yes.
she was 103.
Yes.
So in my head growing up as well, I was like, I'm going to live till 105.
Yes.
So if I'm only now 37, gosh, I've only just tip of the
Oh,
iceberg. Do you know what I mean?
I love that, and I hope you do, my friend. I really hope you do,
too.
because it's.
So I need you to say some nice things at my funeral.
I remember when we travelled to Bali the first time, just Eugene and I, before Jaden came along, and we went for we rode our bikes through the rice fields.
Oh, beautiful.
And we stopped at just these houses that they would. I don't know if they roasted the coffee there, but they had
the
they dried.
plantations out there,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
from their homes they would do it. And I've got this photo of this woman who's, you know, squatting down, doing her thing, and I've got this photo with her, and she is just wrinkled to wrinkled to wrinkled.
But
and
I'm smiling.
no, but I just was absolutely drawn to her because I just would look at her and I go, every single wrinkle is telling a story.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can just imagine the stories this woman has to tell.
Totally.
And I just find that, and I'm always thinking, wow, you know, yeah, you can fix your wrinkles and whatever, but I just think, nah, they
Signs
tell a
of life.
story. They tell.
I have my
yeah.
first deep wrinkle that probably like a couple months ago I was looking in the mirror. Is this one here? Can you see
Yeah,
it?
I've
If you
got
can see
plenty
it.
of them. Yeah.
Please. But like this
No.
one here in particular, like I frowned and then when I
Yeah.
lifted it, it stayed there.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then yesterday I noticed it in my furrow lines up here.
Yeah.
But again, I was like, and I have bad crow's feet. But it's because I'm smiling so much.
Yeah.
How good is that? Like
Yeah.
again, like this is not something this episode's great because I feel like we're celebrating age, which I
Yeah.
love more than anything.
Yeah.
And I love living. Like
Yeah.
ultimately that's what it is. You know, good days, bad days, we're living. We
That's
are
right.
here and we get to experience that. And to think of those that we've lost too soon or those we've lost late in their life where we can go, how great that they got to experience all that.
Yeah, I know.
And
I
you know,
know.
going back to, I guess, like your idea, or not your idea, but your comment earlier about like the way you feel about when you think about your dad at 13. Andrew Garfield, the actor, has a wonderful way of explaining it. He lost his mum a couple of years ago and he said it on a talk show. He's like, look, I don't mind if we talk about her. If I get upset, don't stop, because that grief is
Yeah.
all of the unexpressed love that I didn't get to express to her while she was here. So
Yeah.
as long as I'm feeling that grief, I know I love her and I
Yes.
celebrate that.
Yeah.
So I hope that grief never leaves me.
Yes. And just thank you for bringing that to the forefront, because it makes me want to tell my friends out there, if there's ever a day that if I'm talking about dad or whatever, I don't want sympathy.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm not saying it for sympathy, or if I want to give him a shout out on Instagram for an
Oh, it's the
anniversary or
best.
birthday. And this is where this comes from. Now, I went to a 1 month mass for someone that had passed away. Anyway, Italians, Catholic, whatever, we do these
We
things.
love a mass.
No, we do these things. So anyway, I went to this mass, and sometimes you switch off, but I was like, this priest just was engaging. And in his, not eulogy, because it wasn't the funeral, but in his talk, he was saying how you really only want to die once.
Oh,
But
yes. I know
so
exactly where you're going.
often people die twice. And I was really intrigued. And he was talking, he goes, yes, people die and we hurt. And, you know, that's very, very sad. But we remember them, all the beautiful memories and this, that, the other. But it's when they die twice that's the saddest.
You have to explain the second death,
Yeah,
though, for those who are listening who may not know what the second
Yeah,
death
the
is.
second. Oh, I'm going to make me cry.
I'm sitting here like
the
swelling up.
second death, which I hope it doesn't happen with me. God forbid. The second death is when you are forgotten.
When there's no one left on this physical plane who remembers you or says your name or celebrates
but
you when
it's-
you're forgotten.
But it's actually before that he meant.
Well, it
He
can
meant-
happen before, of course.
He was saying how it's beautiful that we're coming together for a 1 month mass. We're remembering them for 30 days.
Yeah.
So he's saying, let's not forget them next year, the year after, the year after.
Totally.
And he goes, yet some people do these masses every year.
Yeah.
And he goes, but it's because they are remembered. And it's because, he goes, when that stops, they've had their second death. And that's really, really sad.
I asked you last week when you and I had this chat, I said, have you ever watched the movie Coco?
Yeah, well, yes, you did
You
talk
must
about
watch
this.
it, and I highly recommend it. For anybody who's out there,
Yeah.
watch the movie Coco. Not only is it visually stunning, musically beautiful, but the story about the Day of the Dead
Yeah.
and exactly this idea
Yeah.
of, those ancestors who are trying to connect on the Day of the Dead, they get to come back while there is an offering on the oferta where they get to have their photos displayed on the mantle. But it's when there is no one left who remembers them,
Yeah.
that's when they cross over completely. And
Right.
and it's just
Got
beautiful.
you.
It's a lovely, lovely movie. Go watch it. Highly
Yeah.
recommend. You'll bawl your eyes out.
Yeah. So when anyone, I've seen plenty of people giving shout outs to people that have passed because they're remembering. And I just think good on you
I want to make a
because
comment on your dad, if I
we
can.
are remembering them. Yes.
100%. The thing that I really love about your family,
Yeah.
and a lot of other families, but there's something that your family has done beautifully in your dad's memory, is that your nephews and nieces who never got to meet him, they talk about him as if they do, or as if they did, and as if they know him. And I love that he's
Yeah.
such an integral part
Yeah.
of their day-to-day life,
Yeah.
that they talk about Nonno and they
Yeah.
all celebrate. I see it every year
Yeah.
on his birthday, on
Yeah.
his anniversary.
Yeah.
I know you all got together for what would have been his 90th a couple years ago now. I
Blows
think
my
it
mind,
was.
yeah.
But I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And I love the way that, I'm friends with a couple of your nieces
Yeah.
and nephews, and the way that they speak of him is just so heartwarming and beautiful. And I see that in our family when we speak about Nonna, and I
Yeah.
was lucky enough to spend time with Nonna growing up.
Yeah.
And be around her. And now
Yeah.
when I hear my kids tell stories and they're like, Dad, I was in Nonno's shed the other day and and I'm like, what shed are you talking about? He's like, old Nonno. Old Nonna with the white hair.
Yeah.
And it's like, but my kids never met her.
Yeah.
But the memory has been instilled in them through
Because
our
you speak
experience. And we
about-
speak of her so highly, all of our nonnies.
Absolutely.
And now when I see my kids with my parents, oh my God, it kills me.
I know.
I love it.
And that's why we can easily keep the memory alive because Dad's with us every day. So I've spoken to Jaden about Dad, his Nonno, since he was born.
Yeah.
And to this day, he doesn't even realise it. He'll be playing soccer in the backyard and a white butterfly will go past and he'll just go, Nonno.
Yeah, I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it.
Because we used to say that when he was little.
Yeah.
So, it's when people stop talking about the people that have passed on, that's when it's really sad.
Totally.
So let's
I feel
celebrate everyone.
I feel like I've had so many good ages. And
Yeah.
it's funny when you say it like that, you sort of look back in history and you're like,
Yeah.
this was the age of the Roman Empire and this was the age of the Egyptians. In your own life, do you have those types of eras? I guess for me, 16 was really it's that fun loving, it's
Yeah.
hard loving, it's fast, it
Yeah.
was risk taking.
Yeah.
18 felt like, you're 6 foot tall and bulletproof,
Yeah.
which you're not, but that's
Yeah.
part of life, I think, when you figure that out.
Yeah.
21, I remember feeling I should go back even further, 15, 13, that sort of teenage depression state, that era of learning life where it's hard.
Yeah.
I look back at it, and even in that period, I was like, it's hard, but it's great.
Yeah.
And probably better in retrospect where you go, I'm happy I went through that.
Of course.
And 21 felt like a great age. 25 felt like the best. I feel like 25, 26
Yeah.
was the best. Like there was something about that. Probably that's when I met Joya.
Yeah.
And everything in life was just great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then 30, elevated again.
Yeah.
Having kids, elevated
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
35 felt like my best year. I feel like it gets better every year.
That's great. Yeah, I've got, I've definitely got times. I remember 25 wasn't my greatest. I remember that. But there's lots of, I can't even think. I remember 29 before.
On the precipice of 30.
Yeah, but the early stages of 29. So 29 and a half, I was starting to get depressed that I was turning 30. But
Yeah.
I remember like going, wow, this is cool. This is fun. But no, there's plenty of, I don't know.
I look forward to your next era.
Oh,
I look forward to my next era.
Yeah, can't wait.
I just think they're full of so much endless possibility.
Yeah.
For all of us,
Yeah.
not just our eras and our
Yeah.
next decade or next year or our next day.
Yeah. I look at like my, one of my best friends, Julie, who is now a grandmother.
I still don't understand that.
I
Like that
know.
breaks my brain. Even when I remember seeing her with her grandson and I was like, but Julie's kid's very young.
Yeah.
And you were like, that's her grandson. And I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
That does my head in.
But what it is like I know Julie from when we met.
Yes.
So she's got the title of nonna or grandma or whatever, but in my brain it's just Jules.
Totally.
So that's why I think, it just when I stop and think about it, I go, you're a grandmother, but
Wild.
you're just Jules.
She doesn't look it. She doesn't feel it.
But
She
you
doesn't
just-
act like it. And that's the thing.
no.
Age is just a number. Or
Yeah.
the title is just a title.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So let's just celebrate every day. And at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
age is just a number. And every day we are adding on to that age.
I love it. I love living. It's just it's like that's what we take for granted. I think
Yeah.
we take for granted that we should celebrate every bloody day.
Yep.
And love your life.
Yep. And you know what we're going to celebrate as well?
What are we celebrating?
Ending this conversation right now, the episode, the fact that during this episode we've had lots of beeps on our phone. So there must be people out there that love us and wanting to get a hold of us.
That's lovely.
So as much as we heard the beep and the beep and the beep, I don't know if you heard it, but I did.
Oh, my watch was vibrating, but I just figured
Oh,
that I was either
okay.
having a heart attack or I need to stand up.
Oh, hey.
Either way.
Let's celebrate that there's people out there that really do love us.
We love you. Tune in next week. We'll see you next Monday. This is Living.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, look, let's go party like we're 37 and
Yeah. And what?
whatever you want to be.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to just go out there and just
I don't know.
say it.
I was never a big party. I think that's why I remember 29.
That was your party year.
Yeah. I waited way too late.
We were partying a couple of weeks ago at our party, let me tell you.